Good Saturday morning. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are tracking widespread rain moving across Houston currently at the moment, and we are seeing some of these storms pack a bit of a punch, as especially south of town. The National Weather Service issuing a special weather statement for portions of Brazoria County, which does include Angleton, as we are seeing quite a bit of lightning out there. And so looking at the current situation right now, we are not looking at temperatures below freezing here across the Houston area. We're just looking at the heavy rain, the downpours that are moving in across the city of Houston. This is really very heavy rain and causing some blinding conditions on those area highways. As we take a closer look at where the heaviest rain is moving through right now, downtown Houston still enduring some heavy rain. All of our major roadways are getting quite a bit of a washout as we head into the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes. As we zoom out here, as we look at what's going on to the south of us, we are expecting this to continue at least for the next hour or so. And as we track where the winter precipitation is right now in terms of what's happening with this winter storm, they're already starting to see this switch over to that freezing precipitation out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially areas to the west of I-45, or actually I-35 rather. So as we look at the current situation in terms of what we're looking at when it comes to temperatures are in the 50s here across the Houston area. We are quite a bit above freezing. We're not at freezing right now, but you're able to see those temperatures and what we've seen for the past 2 hours, and we are in the 50s. We're starting to drop into the 30s out in Brenham and College Station. These are different weather observation stations currently that are in place across the southeast Texas area, and we are still above freezing. As we look at what's expected, at least for the next several hours, we are expecting this to continue to at least for the next hour or so, as well as those temps to continue to fall at least into the 40s as we head into this afternoon. So as we look at that timeline, we're still going to be rainy at least through the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to have a bit of a break throughout much of the day. You're going to have the chance to be able to do those last minute items or last minute tasks that are probably necessary when it comes to winter weather situation. However, once we get closer towards 11 p.m. tonight, that is tonight, we will start seeing those temps fall to about freezing for us here for our northern areas. That's when that precipitation will be switching over to freezing rain, and that really does contribute to a pretty high ice accumulation hazard. We're not expecting snow, we are expecting the ice accumulation factor with this, and that really is the worst possible outcome in terms of what is expected with a winter storm, is the ice accumulations and what it does to our roadways, our bridges, our overpasses. And we are expecting that to move into our northern areas, even northwestern Harris County, at least by 11 o'clock tonight. So I think you might want to just be indoors at least until when the sun does set here across the Houston area. Temps will be about 33, 32 degrees, just about freezing. That's when we're going to continue to see this precipitation moving through, and that's when we are expecting most of that precipitation that has fallen to switch over to that freezing rain. So all of that rain that has fallen, especially today and through the night, will have the opportunity to freeze over, especially as we head into the early morning hours of Sunday. So we are expecting to still be under the gun for winter weather impacts here across southeast Texas, especially as we go into the next 48 or actually 24 to 48 hours. And then throughout the overnight hours, we are expecting it to continue to rain and continue for that freezing precipitation to fall rather, but we are expecting it to end at least by 6:30, which is good news. But temps really not warming up all that much as we head into tomorrow. We're just going to have a brief period of time where temps will be about above freezing in the upper 30s. That is going to give the opportunity for things to melt on off if it does freeze over. But Sunday night into Monday is when those lows will drop into the 20s, and that's when we are expecting a pretty dangerous wind chill factor with it. And that's why the National Weather Service has issued that extreme cold warning that is now in place for portions of our area. So looking at the current temperatures right now, we are at 53 degrees in Houston. You're able to see what's happening across the state of Texas. They are at 0 in Amarillo, Lubbock at 10, San Angelo's at 19, 37 degrees right now in Austin, and you're able to see where that front is draped, and it's now moving into the Houston area. So our temps are going to continue to fall throughout the next several hours going into the rest of our morning and into the afternoon hours. So definitely when it comes to our winter weather impacts for us, we are expecting freezing rain overnight tonight into Sunday. Temps may stay below freezing for some of us heading into tomorrow afternoon, so that doesn't really give the opportunity for anything to melt off. And so no driving really is recommended when it comes to later on tonight for us here across the Houston area. And so the coldest morning is going to be in during Mondays, when that wind chill will be in the teens here across southeast Texas. So this weekend is going to be shaping up to be a pretty messy weekend, unfortunately. So Saturday, temps dropping into the 40s. Temps will be falling through the day, but tomorrow is going to be the time to really not travel. Just stay home and not be out on the roadways, because we are expecting temps to be in the 20s and 30s, as well as the potential for that ice accumulation to be a problem for us here across the area. I'm not familiar in terms of what the composition when it comes to the brine and the salt that the TxDOT and our local officials have left on the roadways, but I can only imagine that is going to really been washed away from all the heavy rain that we received within the past 30 minutes to an hour. So I think they're probably going to have to redo that. Of course, I'm not an expert on the brine and salt conditions, but just kind of giving you a hint that this rain that we're seeing right now is pretty heavy, and it's causing some issues on some roadways, as well as ponding on some roadways. So you may not want to be out driving right now, especially as we are still looking at this heavy rain moving through the Houston area, and we are starting to see some of those storms moving in, especially south of Houston, especially in around the Angleton area. So the National Weather Service has issued a special weather statement for Brazoria County, which we could see hail size up to 1/4 inch in diameter. Wind speeds could be in excess of 40 miles an hour. This is south of Houston, and that's going to be until 7:30 this morning. As we track to see where the heaviest rain is falling right now, we are looking at rain coming to an end for most of West Houston, but we're still seeing some heavy rain moving through downtown and portions of East Houston, especially along the Sam Houston Tollway, as well as I-10, 610 areas east of downtown from East End to Baytown, is still enduring some pretty heavy rain, and we are looking at some heavy rain now moving into the Bush Airport area currently right now. So a pretty messy morning expected. We still have a lot of precipitation. We are just at the forefront of this weather system that is moving into and moving across the state of Texas, and they're already starting to see some of those conditions turn over to the freezing precipitation out for portions of central Texas, especially out in Waco and the I-35 corridor, where you see those pink and purple colors. That's those conditions switching over to the freezing precipitation currently at the moment. So definitely expecting widespread rain, and it's causing some issues on roadways. I don't think we're seeing any major reports of flooded roadways here across the Houston area, but this was kind of hazardous, especially if you do find yourself driving this morning in these conditions. Of course, I made my way in from home, and the rain was blinding on those highways, and you really don't want to be driving in this heavy rain. And we are under the gun for some possible stronger storms with this as this system moves on through. But as we look closer towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they're already looking at some rain, sleet, and snow moving into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as well as along I-20. So Waco, starting to see those temperatures starting to fall across portions of all across the state of Texas, and that does include us here across Houston, even though we are above freezing right now. But it's kind of important that you see those highway signs, that the flashing highway signs saying that winter weather expected. Yes, that's definitely still happening here for this weekend, and we are expecting this rain to really not help what's happening right now in terms when it comes to any ice accumulation. So as we look at the current watches and warnings, portions north of Houston is under a ice storm warning. That really means that areas north of town, especially Huntsville, even along I-69 towards Livingston, and even I-45 towards Dallas, you have the potential for more thicker ice accumulations in these areas that you see in purple. So if you are north of Houston, or if you are planning to travel north of Houston, you might not want to do that tonight and into tomorrow, because we could see up to a 1/4 inch of ice accumulations for areas in Huntsville, Livingston, and just to the north of Cleveland. That's the ice storm warning, and that's what that means, is the ice accumulation that really does a good job at forming on the power lines, that could snap power lines, that could cause tree damage, that could cause impossible travel on roadways, especially when it comes to what's expected north of Houston. We still could could get some ice. We are very well likely going to get some ice problems here across to Houston, but it's not going to be as thick as terms of what we're expecting to see north of town. And so the National Weather Service is also issuing, they are keeping that winter storm warning in place through 6 p.m. on Sunday. And we are going to have to keep an eye out for the potential for ice here across the Houston area, which is ultimately going to cause some issues on all of our highways, our bridges, our overpasses once those temps reach 32 degrees or lower here across town. So extreme cold warning. This is for Monday morning. Monday morning is going to be the day that we're going to see more of the coldest of the temperatures with this system, and we are expecting that those feels like temps to range between 5 and 15 degrees. And the reason why we talk about wind chill is because usually that could lead to a higher rate of hypothermia if you are left out in these elements for a prolonged period of time. So definitely expecting lots of hazards when it comes to this situation, especially as we go into the next few days here across the Houston area. I'm looking at our weather model. Currently, I'm looking at having some problems with some data, but we are expecting, I'm going to make a few adjustments with our graphic here to see what we're expecting for the next few days when it comes to that ice accumulation. There we go. We have just close to 1/10 of an inch of ice accumulations that are expected here across the Houston area. That is enough to cause some issues and some hazardous travel conditions as we head into the early hours of Sunday. And so definitely keep in mind that areas from Huntsville to Lufkin, you could get up to about 1/4 inch of ice accumulations, especially as we deal with this this winter storm as it makes its way into the Houston area. So looking at how much ice does it take to cause different types of hazards. So it only takes between a trace to 1/4 inch to cause dangerous travel conditions. You'll have minimal power issues, but it's once that ice accumulation starts reaching the 1/4 inch range, which is the second criteria, that really does create impossible travel, and that could cause some tree damage. So if you are in Huntsville, if you are in Livingston, north of Houston, you could get this criteria here, the 1/4 inch to 0.75 inches. And then, of course, anything above 0.75 inches, that's widespread tree damage and power outages. That usually leads to more of a catastrophic damage when it comes to the ice accumulations. I don't think we're looking at this criteria. We might see this in Houston right here, where you have dangerous travel conditions and minimal power issues, but areas north of town, Huntsville, Livingston, you're going to see the second criteria, which is between 1/4 inch or higher, and that does create impossible travel, some tree damage, and we could see some of those power lines snapped when it comes to that ice accumulations across for us here in across for our northern areas. So as we look across what's happening in terms of our 7-day forecast, we are under a weather impact alert from now until Monday, as we are expecting the impacts of a winter storm here across Texas, and we will feel those impacts here in the Houston area. And so we are expecting those conditions to remain rather chilly and cold for today, but also rainy. So much of today is going to be above freezing. However, it's tonight into Sunday is when those temps are going to drop to about freezing. Icy conditions are expected for Sunday. I think travel really not recommended for Sunday. And then we're going to be very cold on Monday morning, but temps are going to warm up quickly as we head into the afternoon hours, and then eventually in the 50s and 60s as we head into the middle of the week. So we are in for quite a bit of a ride when it comes to this winter storm. And now we're looking at the heavy rain that's probably washing off all that salt that was probably left by our local officials when it comes to trying to prevent the freezing. So I'm assuming that they're going to probably go out to do another coat of brine and the salt solution as we head into the next few hours. We are going to get the good news, though, that if anybody is watching, our latest model does have us in a break from the rain, at least later on this afternoon. I'm going to show you this one more time when it comes to our future track model here. So we're seeing heavy rain right now. I think for anybody that is watching or anybody that does want to do any type of traveling, it's going to be closer towards maybe 9 to 10 a.m. is when we will see the break from this rainfall, with rain ultimately coming to an end just briefly. So we are going to have a large window of calmness before our next round of precipitation, and it's this next round of precipitation which is expected to arrive during the overnight hours, which is between the hours of 10 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, as early as 9 o'clock, through the midnight hour is when we'll start seeing this second round of precipitation, and that is when we're expecting to see this change over to the freezing precipitation, especially as those temps are going to start falling into the 30s, as well as about freezing, 32 or lower. We're going to still be at 36, 35 at Bush, but just keep in mind 32 degrees is the magic number before we start seeing things start switching over to ice. So if you're looking at your thermometers, maybe if it's in the car, or maybe if you have a thermometer at your home and it says 32 degrees, just keep in mind, and it is raining or you see rain happening, just keep in mind that is a factor when it comes to the potential for it to turn over to freezing precipitation in the form of freezing rain, and that's when we could get those ice accumulations, especially as we head into the overnight hours. So 9-10 o'clock tonight is going to be our second round of showers, and that is going to be the problematic showers because we're going to see those cold temperatures. We will see that change over to freezing precipitation through the overnight hours between 9 to 10 o'clock through at least 3 to 4 a.m. And then most of that precipitation is going to be out of the picture by as early as 6:30 to 7 a.m. tomorrow. However, those temps are still going to be below freezing for the most part for much of the morning. So anything that has fallen, we are going to wake up Sunday to possible ice accumulations here across the Houston area, and even areas north of town likely to see more of those higher ice accumulations, especially as we are anticipating the conditions to be hazardous when it comes to the travel concerns. And of course, we have been warning you about this weather event for the past few days, and that's why we've issued that weather impact alert as from now at least until Monday, because we are expecting to be impacted by some pretty cold temperatures as well as the ice accumulations that are expected here across the Houston area. And of course, this is your 7-day. Today, from now until this afternoon, we will see the potential for rain. We're going to be above freezing. You still have some time. I think right now, not really a good time to do any traveling because roadways are pretty messy out there. I think you might want to wait until maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's when we are expecting that rain to end. We're going to have a brief window, a pretty prolonged period of window of no precipitation for much of the day, but our temps are going to continue to fall, and it's that second round that's going to be in place later on tonight. So that's just kind of reiterating the time frame of what we're expecting to see here in Houston, at least as we look at the timing of this weather event. So next 7 days, pretty icy for tomorrow, hard freeze likely for Monday, and warming up quite quickly as we head into the middle of next week. And of course, we are giving you the latest forecast updates on the hour here on KHOU 11 Plus. Make sure to tune into KHOU.com as well as on the KHOU 11 app. We are going to be live at 9 a.m. for our 9 a.m. newscast. Of course, myself with anchors Katira Renfrey and Cheryl Mercedes. We will be giving you the latest weather and news updates on how to prepare for this storm and giving you the latest when it comes to the forecast. So stay safe out there, especially when it comes to this rain, and bundle up, especially tonight, because we are going to be in for some quite cold conditions here across Houston. Have a good and safe rest of your day.